We're having trouble with the audio, so we're doing some checks. Can you hear us and see us clearly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah, so Mr. Carver's side is loud and clear. Mr. Cunningham, how about from your side?
I can hear you and see you fine.
Okay, what? Okay, but you are talking in a clear, loud voice, and so who else will be presenting at your side? Will they be able to be loud enough? Because it seems that the speaker is farther away from the mic, the microphone.
I agree with you. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, that's a bit better.
How about this?
Oh, that's great.
Okay. Most of everything we're going to have should be other sites. Now, I did hear this morning that Jordan won't be joining us because they have a holiday today, unscheduled holiday. I don't know what for.
Okay, so on the schedule, you have us presenting first, and then perhaps the moderator, Mr. Carver, should speak first. I don't know. And you and Mr. Carver should speak first.
Go ahead and do yours first. Is fine, because we're kind of waiting on Turkey and Lebanon.
Are we, Mr. Cunningham, are you waiting? Should we wait for them to be in? And do you have students at your site that we should wait for as well?
No, I do not wait for my students, but go ahead and we could wait just a little bit for the other people. I tried to postpone as best I could, but they should be here in about 15, 20 minutes. Mary's going to be doing a presentation on some food preparations and different things which they could use, which is kind of interesting. And then they're going to go into the actual presentations of the refugees from Syria.
Correction, we're doing the refugee crisis issue as well, but
Yeah.
since we don't have the Syrian refugee problem in Taiwan, we will be talking about the refugee challenges, issues, and issues that have occurred over from the past till the present in Taiwan.
Hey,
Yeah.
that'd be even much better. So why don't we just wait just a minute then and see if the other people come on. Let me check my phone.
No problem. I'm gonna talk to Renee for 1 minute.
Go.
Super. Yeah, I appreciate that, Meme.
Yeah, I was going to send you that proposal, but then I'm going to send it to you right away. I wasn't sure if you wanted the program recruitment proposal or the program description for all, but I'm going to go ahead and send you what I have. It would look more like a recruitment for the other sites to join us, but you know, make use of it. Did you want it to put it out, post it or something, or did you just want it for reference at your site?
For reference, I'm happy to have that. I am looking to get the program out that would be used to advertise to people to tune in on Earth Day. So if you need help recruiting the younger site for you to present to, I can help try to assist with that as well. Does that make sense?
Yes. I have now recruited one site, Miss Susanna Delix from Croatia, and she said that your student can be doing that with us, will co-present with us, and they will be the whales, as I proposed.
Great, I love that sense. I think that's great. Yeah.
So I'm going to send you the proposal right now.
Okay, super. I see some of your students have masks on and some don't. What's the update about coronavirus in Taiwan?
Update. Who knows the latest update?
今天到第48例。
Really? Okay, go. You can just stand up and talk.
There are 48 confirmed cases as of today.
Just 40.
And 48.
And the death toll is 1 person.
That's
Okay.
call one.
And the mask ordering system is now present in 2.0 version. You can order online and then take it from the convenience store.
Was that clear? We can purchase our the surgical mask at convenience stores, and we can order it online. So it's quite convenient. You know, people will not panic if they are able to purchase these necessities, you know,
Yeah.
to prevent the spread.
And has Taiwan in your area, have you canceled a lot of events?
A lot of the events where there will be large crowds of people within enclosed areas are canceled. But other than that, if it's an outdoor, you know, event, then it's not much influenced.
Okay, very interesting. The different ways that different countries are reacting to this, and even different areas of the country.
Yeah.
Are reacting.
Did you hear about the Ukraine? They had one confirmed case and they shut everything down for 3 weeks.
Wow.
In the United Kingdom?
No, in the Ukraine.
Oh, in the Ukraine, wow.
Yeah, the Prime Minister came on yesterday and surprised and told everybody affected today that 3 weeks, no schools, no banks, no stock exchanges, no income. No congregations more than 200 people.
Very intriguing. I know the National Basketball Association, so one of the professional basketball leagues, has canceled their game. They tested positive for the virus. Many colleges are doing solely online courses, and having students go to class, do it all online.
They just announced today that the University of Texas is going to take next week a spring break. We have spring break next week, then they're going to take another week, and then they may go to online courses. Texas A&M is on spring break this week, and then they canceled till the middle of next week, and then they're going to look at maybe going online or something. That's it. I guess when everybody scatters and goes all different places and comes back, there's a potential of tremendous impact as far as spreading the flu around. I'm trying to get a hold of these people and see what's taking on.
So it's interesting that you folks there at the university in Taiwan are all gathered in one place.
Excuse me? What did you mean by gathered in one place?
Well, you are all together in a classroom. So what Mr. Cunningham was referring to is that a couple of major sized colleges in his area are looking at not having students in a classroom together. They will be doing online coursework. And we have a university here in Ithaca, New York, with about 20,000 students, and they have moved. After this week, they go on spring break, and for the rest of the semester, they will be all online.
Wow.
Students are told not to come onto campus.
Yeah.
In Taiwan, the main point is for students to not be in a crowded space and not to be too close to each other. And also, you know, when they are having lunch, they should not, when they're getting food, they should not be talking, you know, so that, you know, and they should wear masks. You know, so a lot of these preventive measures are taken seriously now.
Right.
So that I think it actually helps because it's quite effective because everything seems to be going on real well.
Yeah, it's very intriguing. These are all general hygiene precautions that are wise to take anyhow. And here we are, such scares about catching this one. Tuning in more to the appropriateness of washing our hands on a regular basis, not coughing in someone else's face, all of these things.
We also see on the news that in some countries, people are panicking and stockpiling toilet paper and tissues. Is that also the case in the U.S.?
In various places, I have heard that. I don't know that it's throughout every community in the U.S., but in various places, yes, people are looking at it and thinking, "Oh my gosh, there's no more toilet paper on. There's almost no more toilet paper on the shelves. I better buy enough for 4 months."
It's really I don't know. It's really interesting that the first thing people think of is toilet paper and tissue.
And water.
I don't know why, because is that the first thing that will be, you know, immediately out? I mean, why is it? Because I think in various countries, that's the first thing that people go and just take it off the shelf.
I think here, that particular one is very few people want to go to the bathroom without the use of toilet paper.
Yeah. And hand sanitizer is off the shelves in most places around where we're at. So everybody's gone to this, and they're fighting over it, and they're raising prices on hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
We also have the 75% alcohol for disinfecting, hands, and that's also arranged to be purchased, also allocated in in stores around Taiwan, around the island of Taiwan, so that everyone can, it can be available for everyone. And the 75% alcohol in Taiwan is put in spray containers, and people sort of use this as like a hand sanitizer. So if you want to, after washing your hands, you can spray some on your hands.
So we should. That feels like a much easier solution than having to try to track down hand sanitizer, to just find the alcohol to add to our water bottles, our spray bottles, and use that.
Oh yeah.
I saw an article yesterday about what do we call him, Mr. Cunningham? Somebody coming up with a remedy. Yeah, that's easy. Great. And will last a long time. This person was touting a mixture of a silver solution. Somehow, I don't know, something you rub on your hands or you ingest, or something that is an antidote for the coronavirus.
Ooh.
And which is totally false, because there isn't one. But he's taken to court for promoting something that is not a solution or a remedy for the coronavirus. Very interesting. People are fraudulently trying to make money on disease.
Spreading this kind of, that would be misinformation is really a crime. I mean,
right.
Not only not helping, but also harming people.
Yeah, exactly. For somebody to take that and think that they are protected, and then they're not taking the precautions, is just really, really dangerous.
You know, I can't get hold of, they answer me, they're trying to get on, so we may wait another 5 minutes or so, I guess, I hope.
Okay. I just sent you the proposal. You can check.
I saw that. Yes, thank you.
Great. It's a one-page thing.
On my computer, I can see that I got an email from you.
So do you need any help with the Earth Day, the whole planning thing? Are you and Mina good?
I think we're doing okay. We have some later sessions, but I think those will be some that you are very unlikely to tune into. That will be late afternoon U.S. time. So I hope that this round kind of re-kickstart mega conference, and is something that we can do again later with a better planning process that involves more people. That's my hope. that we get a few of these presentations in and we show again that this has value and credibility, and we can then make a bigger deal out of it.
Originally I was really hoping I can, I don't know, draw up a plan for one in October, but it's also kind of a rush. And this kind of thing, actually, I did think it's a long-term planning.
What does your school cycle look like, your school calendar? When do you have classes start up again?
Well, actually, we sort of like the U.S. So we have the fall term and the spring term. The only difference is that our fall term ends in around mid to late January because of our Lunar New Year celebrations. Okay. So instead of at the end of December, our term ends at the end or the mid of January. And then after around 3 to 4 weeks of winter vacation, we come back. So normally around the mid of February, we start our spring term, and it goes all the way through the end of June.
Okay, and does your fall term start in September?
Yes, like, August 30th, 31st, or September 1st.
All right. Well, then a late October or early November seems like it could work. I guess that would depend on how well you feel your students can be prepared for something by that point.
Yeah, and I was partly worried that I would be biting off more than I could chew. So I actually thought about mini megas. So for example, like 6-hour ones, but you went along with 12 hours. So good for you.
I'm hoping so. Good for me and not too much stress. We'll see.
I think we got Turkey on.
Great.
Turkey.
I see another site in. I haven't heard audio from them yet.
Okay. Why don't we go ahead and start with Taiwan, and then maybe we'll be joined here by Turkey, and I'll try to see what's going on with the Lebanese people. Hopefully they still have school today. There we go. Good. Okay, Mimi, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then let's go ahead and start.
University.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Right. Hello, everyone. We are from the affiliated senior high school of Zhongxin University. Today, we will tell you about the refugee issue in Taiwan. And at this site in Taiwan, we don't have the Syrian refugee challenge because in this moment, we don't have the related policies about refugees. So we will explain the historical background controversies that to changes faced today. And Taiwan has been under an extraordinarily long period of martial law for 38 years, from 1949 to 1987. According to National Museum of Taiwan History, martial law is the imposition of strict control over manpower and supplies with unchangeable state authority. And this is an abnormal status for governments and takes place during emergencies such as war or rioting.
During the time of martial law, the lifestyle of Taiwanese people were directed by slogans and orders from government. In such a closed society, people received only controlled information. In other words, Taiwanese people didn't know much about global issues. There wasn't any discussion on how to resolve such issues. There were no refugee policies either. However, does that mean there were no refugee problems? Let's take a look at following 3 cases.
One such example occurred in 1987. Vietnam was at war with USA at that time. Vietnamese people became war refugees and fled to other countries. Some came to Taiwan by boat, but a tragedy happened. Due to lack of knowledge, miscommunication, and misunderstanding, the refugees were viewed as either enemy or terrorists, and they were shot to death by militaries. After many decades later, that this tragic incident was revealed.
Another tragic incident that happened after martial law was lifted also posed a refugee question in Taiwan. In 1989, a pro-democracy movement calling for free speech and free press in China led to a bloody crackdown known as Tiananmen Square Massacre. A few protest victims managed to escape, fled to seek political asylum in USA. A few of them came to speak in public and give university lectures in Taiwan as political dissidents. However, are political dissidents the same as political refugees?
Turkey, can you answer that question? Are political dissidents the same as political refugees?
Turkey, are you able to hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay. Do you understand the question? And can you
Not really.
Okay.
I think the problem, okay.
Are you able to hear us?
Yeah. We can
Yes, we are. We couldn't really understand the question.
Okay. So the question is there a difference between the political dissident, the people who protest against the government and are probably marginalized in that area, in that country, and also the people who are political refugees, are they the same? Do you think these two are the same? And this question can be posed at anyone, and also the students will also like to ask Mr. Cunningham and Mr. Carver as well. But we would like to hear from Turkey first.
We do think they have a difference, but it's nothing we can explain. It's kind of complicated. I don't think my English is enough for this.
I agree.
Shortly.
I'm not sure my English is good enough for this.
Okay.
Well, I think political refugees just migrate to another country because there's some war in their country, as we're going to present the Syrian refugees. That's what I understood of the question. And political descendants are basically riots happening in that country. That's what I understood.
Yeah, and could we agree that maybe there are political dissidents in Syria that have migrated as well?
Yeah, we could do that. We could say that, I think.
Yeah, the only thing is in China or Taiwan, they don't really have the refugees as much, but they have a lot of political dissidents, especially you consider Hong Kong and some of those people right now, they're considered dissidents for the Chinese government. So also understand the political situation in Turkey. We better not ask this question of them.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, a dissident is someone who is much more vocal or active in talking about the problems with their government. And the refugees are less vocal and writing about those problems, but they're impacted in that they need to leave the country for whatever political reason.
And Renee, we have a lot of people in our area that migrate from Central America that are both vocal and dissident. And, because of being pretty much forced out of their country for political reasons, and then they're in the middle of a political involved with our government and other things too. So I can understand where Mary's coming from.
Yeah. Thank you, Taiwan. Thank you, Turkey.
Thank you. We will proceed. Yeah, we have a latter part.
In 2019, when people protested against extradition bill in Hong Kong, violent crackdowns enforced. Political refugees from Hong Kong asked for political asylum in Taiwan. However, Taiwan still has no refugee laws or related policies that could help refugees to be accepted. Refugee bills that were blocked by certain parties that denied the foreign citizenship of Hong Kong people. In other words, Hong Kong people are of a different nationality according to their political ideology, which meant Hong Kong citizens do not qualify as refugees and thus were not accepted.
Nevertheless, most people in Taiwan believe that political ideology should not trump human rights. However, because of the conflicting politics with China, Taiwan is not a member state of United Nations and could not sign the convention relating to status of refugees. In 2007, the Executive Yuan in Taiwan had submitted a draft of refugee law to Legislative Yuan to be passed. However, as previously mentioned, arguments about the definition of refugee arose because of identity and nationality recognition from different ideologies. It is unfortunate that as of 2019, not a single refugee law has been passed.
Now you may wonder how people in Taiwan come to have proposed stances. There is actually a history behind this. In 1949, the Nationals, also known as the KMT military and family, left China and moved to Taiwan. However, they did not see themselves as refugees settling in new area. In fact, they came to rule Taiwan for a long period of time. They accounted for more than half the seats in the Legislative Yuan, and Taiwanese constitution regarded China as our territory. Thus, people fleeing from China are not seen as refugees, so it's difficult to pass the refugee laws. In recent years, DPP became the ruling party in Taiwan, and people hope that they can quickly pass the refugee bills. That's all of our presentation on refugee challenges in Taiwan. Thank you.
Guys, I have a question on that last statement. Could you go over that a little bit more?
Which one?
The one that says that China is a part of Taiwan?
Okay. So in the Constitution, remember that the Nationals or the KMT party, they came from China. And so at that time, in their view, they came to Taiwan so that they can take back China, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Right. So the idea was, both sides are of the same country. It's just that they are temporarily settling in Taiwan.
Okay. So technically speaking, that's why the people from Hong Kong who are Chinese citizens now, they can't get asylum there because you're still in the same country, correct?
Yeah, according to the people who brought this idea over here, everyone is of the same country. So if you're from the same country, then you're not a refugee.
Okay.
So then the Hong Kong people who wanted to seek asylum were not granted asylum, and that is very unfortunate because they were in a critical situation where that is really needed.
And also, Mary, you might want to tell Renee in Turkey, you have a couple students studying over there in Hong Kong, don't you?
Yes, we have students studying in Hong Kong. Fortunately, they are not in direct conflict and clash with the incident because the students were studying at a more remote college university. Well, the college university was situated in a remoter area and was not in direct clash with the police.
Yeah, and is it still is it still active protests, or has it died down a lot?
It has died down a lot because of this coronavirus deal.
Yeah, I thought so.
Does Taiwan permit people from Hong Kong to enter Taiwan?
They enter here, they can come here to apply for, go to universities. They can even come here to work. But the problem with the refugee, this definition is, is the big problem here.
Right. So it's interesting because they can go to Taiwan without
Yes.
a problem. They just can't have that status of being a refugee.
Yes. That that actually touches the subject of nationality.
Right. So what would the status of refugee change when they come to Taiwan?
So that is the question, and that is the problem, because there's a party that really wants to block the refugee deal, because then it would automatically mean that we're from two different countries. We are of two different countries, and so it becomes a political ideology.
Right.
And but if you are looking at this from the human rights point of view, the people who are in danger, I mean, you should accept them to be here, seeking asylum and everything. But then there's this ideology thing that's pushing them away, which is very, very unfortunate.
Mary, one quick question: do Taiwanese consider themselves Chinese?
So that's a very good question. There are a number of opinions. So, like, some people think of themselves as Chinese. Some people think of themselves as both Chinese and Taiwanese. And then there are some people think of themselves as only Taiwanese. But I think that's an open point of view, because I think that's good, because that your own recognition of nationality, if it doesn't clash with safety and national security and everything, I think it's okay. But of course, with the human rights issue here about refugees, then I think there should be a clean, clear-cut law where we can actually help those people whose human rights are violated.
Wow.
Yeah. And questions from Turkey for the students in Taiwan?
No, we don't have any.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mary. If you could quit sharing in Turkey, go ahead.
Can you see our slide right now?
Yes.
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 Okay. We are starting. According to field researches of Turkish Ministry of Interior, 4 million refugees are living in Turkish land. Nearly 1.3 refugees are under age of 18. Nearly half of the refugees are male, and nearly 83% of the refugees are migrated from Syria or Iraq. 98% of the Syrians are living in cities. The Turkish population to Syrian refugee ratio is 5%. In some provinces, there are more refugees than native population. The native population. In Syrian border province of Hatay, 83% of the population are Syrian refugees. Only in Istanbul, there are 500,000 refugees, 60% of them living under the poverty line.
Wow.
The social influence. Migration affected Turkish social life. As statistics say, more than 50% of the Syrians live in major cities of Turkey. Immigrants have started to pass through borders since the start of the civil war. Even though they're in Turkey more than a decade, most of the immigrants haven't fully adapted to society. Most of the refugees who have higher education than others were able to immigrate EU borders, mostly Germany. Most of who stayed in Turkey are not highly educated. Some started shopkeeping, some started their own jobs, but an unignorable part of them started beggary or started working in factories for a lower price, sometimes in illegal ways. One of the biggest problem is language. Syrians talk Arabic, and it can be clearly seen that it's hard for them to learn Turkish. Turkish Ministry of Education and municipalities have free Turkish courses, yet an important part of the refugees haven't learned Turkish properly. There are many reasons or started to live in ghettos. This is also a very important obstacle for cultural economic influence. Since 2017, EU has been providing financial support to Turkey in return of keeping the refugees out of Europe. Total donated money is currently $15 billion. This number maybe looks like enough, but Turkey has spent more than $40 billion single-handedly. We should also be aware that 4 members of the G7 is a member of the European Union. Turkish economy hasn't grown as well as the first half of the decade. Refugees are not the only reason that Turkey provided financial support to refugees, with 2.3% of national GDP in 2017. This is the domestic product in current prices from 1984 to 1924 in US dollars. Okay. Thank you for listening. This is
Turkey,
do you have any questions?
Yeah. What is there any refugees around Bursa?
Around where?
Around your city?
Yes, we have a lot.
Do you have very
Mostly
many in your school, or do they go to separate schools?
They're going to separate schools. We are a school that gets students by their grades, by their points they get from a test. So since the Syrian refugees that come here don't know Turkish properly, they can't come this far.
So you have a language barrier to inclusion in your regular Turkish school?
Yes. They just go to normal other schools that don't get students by their points.
Mm-hmm. Which
Turkey
certainly presents a barrier to inclusion in regular Turkish society. Do we have any questions from Taiwan for Turkey?
Yeah, Turkey, if you could unshare so we can see everybody.
Great, thank you.
We have a question.
Because your refugees is more than your native population, so did this affect your life?
Yeah, it does. They're mostly doing beggary, so it affects us badly. Cheap manpower, especially in factories, like we already stated.
Yeah,
Then our own people have unemployment rates that grow higher each day.
Yeah. What's the unemployment rate there in Turkey?
In Turkey, 10% of the Syrians.
No, of the Syrians, how many would be unemployed of the Syrians?
10%.
Okay.
Okay, we can't say something specific for the Syrians though.
Yeah, I would assume it'd just be higher then, correct?
Much.
Yeah, it can be because most of them are under record. Those are the numbers that are under record, are 4 million.
And this was originally supposed to be temporary help, correct?
Yes, but since their war is still ongoing, we have to look after them here.
And when we did this a couple years ago, they said there was about 2.5 million. So it's grown in 2 years, 1.5 million more people in Turkey, correct?
Yes, we have more day by day.
Wow.
Do you feel that the Turkish economy and the Turkish people have room to have that many people added to the population in your country?
Personally, I don't think we do. And it's kind of it can be understood by because we're getting help from the EU. We're trying to get help actually, and we're trying to help them with our own economy, which isn't at a good rate right now. So it's hard, personally.
Okay, I have a question. There is more than half of refugees are male in Turkey. How do governments in Turkey provide them with jobs?
They mostly just start to work in factories with low wages. Some of them are at camp. We can provide work jobs with the ones that are that are noted. Not all of them.
Do you worry? Do people in Turkey, the Turkish citizens, do they worry that this will impact your job opportunities?
Yes, it does anyway. We're not really good with the rate of unemployment on Turkish people, and with the refugees taking the jobs, the other jobs left, it's growing for our own people. They can't find jobs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
More questions from Taiwan?
Yes.
What is the most difficult problem for students to face the refugees problem? What do you think about refugee? Do you think they are annoying, or do you think they are just some people that they lose their home?
It affects us right now, and we are kind of anxious for our future. We could be unemployed like most of the Turkish youth. And personally, I am annoyed because I literally see most of them outside begging and not working like most people should do. That personally annoys me.
So I have another.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
They usually earn more than us by begging. It was stated.
So does refugee and Turkish crush and have violence problems or something, or some social problems?
Social and violent.
Social and violent. Most of the most of the male Syrians tend to sexually harass women and like rape them.
Whistling.
And whistling. And I think, okay, that's mostly it.
Were they convicted?
The ones that were caught, yes, I think so. Not all of them though. They mostly tend to run away after.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Dr. Ham, did you have a question? I'm curious in the dynamic of so many people and an unemployment rate at 10% among the Turkish population. I hear what you're saying, that it's uncomfortable for us to see people on the street begging. But I assume that if the unemployment rate among the Turkish native people is 10%, that the unemployment rate among the Syrians is even higher. If they have no other opportunity for employment, how can they support themselves or feed their families?
Yes, to solve that problem, the Turkish government is giving money for them monthly, as they do for their own citizens. So I personally don't see any reason for them to beg, because they already get help.
So that level of help provides enough food and water and housing for them to be okay, for them and their families, that it's at that level that support has been there?
For most of them, yes. They tend to get money we get.
Minimum wage.
For the people working in Turkey for the minimum wage, they tend to get higher, actually, some of them. So it's more than enough. Actually, they have lots of kids, so maybe it may not be enough for them, but it was tested and it was seen to last for a month for a family.
What's the long-term solution?
What's the long-term solution? We are still gonna help them. For now, we don't have that long-term solution.
Well, if it's grown 1.5 million in the last year or so, what will happen in another year? Do you think there'll be even more people? You said they haven't stopped coming. So at what point will Turkey say enough is enough and we can't help anymore?
For that situation, we are the EU is tending to help us too, and we're just gonna request more help from the EU from now on. And we're trying to help as much as we can too. That's what we're planning to do if they keep on increasing, which they are.
I'd like to ask one more quick question real quickly. With this coronavirus spreading all over, if they ever got into the camps and stuff and refugees, what would what would the feelings be between the Turkish and Syrians about clamping down on some of their rights?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I didn't really hear it.
Okay. If in fact, I know the refugee camps are pretty packed, and if the coronavirus got inside the refugee camps and started spreading inside of Turkey, what would be Turkey's response to all the people living in the refugee camps?
Good question. We'd actually help them more with like hygienic products, soap, I don't know, like antiseptic products as much as we can, but I don't think we could do much if it spreads in the camps.
Yeah. That's an awful large amount of people.
Yeah, except the camps, and the government in Turkey provides the refugees to live in a residential area. Do they have residential area except the camps?
In addition to camps.
In addition to camps.
Yes, the people that get money monthly from the government tend to live in apartments and small areas that are just left to them. Syrian villages are being formed.
Okay, thank you.
The Turkish government, Syrian people, you literally are building communities to house the Syrian refugees?
No, they generally tend to live together and with places that are cheaper. That's why I said it like that.
Right. Okay. It's a big struggle, a very big struggle. To have people of different wealth and income and different background be accepted and integrate into a different society. That's been struggles throughout history. I have tuned in a little bit to that, and even in terms of the United States history with slavery and how at the end of slavery and even in today, we have communities from different nationalities that will sort of self-isolate because they are comfortable with the language, because they are comfortable with the culture, and trying to integrate in a way that is both respectful of both cultures without losing the sense of culture. I don't want, if you immigrate to the United States, I don't want you to lose your Turkish culture. I would like you to have your Turkish culture because I find that to be valuable. And so that dynamic gets really hard, especially thank you for speaking such good English, both in Turkey and in Taiwan, because I could not have this conversation with you if you did not. So especially if you don't have the language, that communication is incredibly difficult.
Yes.
More questions from Taiwan or questions from Turkey for Taiwan?
We don't have any.
Okay. How far is the nearest camp from your city?
How far?
The camps are generally in the Sultan provinces, generally border provinces in Syria. So there is generally no camps in the west or the north provinces.
Okay. So any people you see in your area would be living in residential, correct?
Yeah, generally.
And what's happening to affordable housing? If they're taking up all this affordable housing, what's happening to the prices for apartments and stuff in your city?
Well, sometimes they don't rent or buy houses. Sometimes they build the houses themselves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, small houses.
So it's generally increases the rents in general area because of the Syrians, but it does not affect us that much in general.
Okay.
Taiwan, do you have more questions for Turkey?
Yeah, we have another question.
Yeah, I have a question about coronavirus in Turkey. Are surgical masks available in Turkey?
So for
Yes, they
both
are.
Turkish people and also refugees, are these supplies enough available for them?
Well, we have masks. Even I have one. You could see that in the back. We have masks. The governments have masks that stocked in hospitals.
Yeah, only the people that go to hospitals get it, but we have to get it by ourselves if we want to have extra protection, like such as masks and antiseptics.
So you're still able to purchase one, because in some countries all the masks are out and a lot of other supplies are also out.
For now, we don't have that much demand on products like that because we only have one case, but if it continues to scale up, we'll have the same situation here too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's very much what I perceive to be the case here, is that people, the government is not providing masks. It's up to us individually to go get the supplies we feel inclined to have, that we want to have. In some cases, different types of masks are hard to find. I was talking with the students in Taiwan before you joined Turkey about in some situations in the United States, people are buying all of the toilet paper. They're buying all of the napkins. They're buying all of the water off the shelves because they're afraid that those things won't be available should their community be impacted by coronavirus. So very, very interesting what we go out and rush to buy because we're worried that it won't be there in a week or two. Mr. Cunningham, you had some other individuals on the schedule to join us. Are we still waiting for that to happen?
Well, I don't think evidently they're not having school in Jordan and Lebanon today because of maybe the virus. And the other people couldn't make it. So I had some people at 8, but it's no use holding people over for another half hour doing this. So I guess we could thank everybody. Mary, I need for you to make sure that you sign up on that canvas for the African moot court deal. And if you could tell your teacher, guys, Ms. Piddle, to make sure she signs up. It'd be greatly appreciated as well.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This was pretty enlightening today because if you think about it, I'd never really realized I knew we had the one China policy for a long time. And like I told Mary before, I got to meet Ms. Chiang Kai-shek. So, you know, I kind of familiar, but it's kind of startling to figure that how they view that information. And it's really interesting to talk about Turkey and the refugees. How many of you know anybody in the Turkish army? Is Turkish army still in Syria fighting?
Yes, we are still in Syria, generally in Idlib.
Oh, what's the feeling with the military down there? Okay, how long do you think this whole problem's going to last? Is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I know it won't last short. Probably there will be more blood from both sides.
Because we've been in Afghanistan almost 20 years pretty soon. I think in some of these places you could stay forever. And that would mean that the refugee situation in Turkey will just be growing because they're not going to be going anywhere. You know,
well, Turkey started to settle the Syrians that Turkish area controlled in the northern provinces of Syria. So if the civil war ends, all refugees should leave the Turkey.
Okay.
We can't look after them forever. All
Right.
economics handle that.
Yeah, at some point, I think it becomes a difficult situation for sure. Jordan wanted me to expand to you. They've been taking care of refugees since '48, and you know it's approaching almost 80 years here, pretty quick, and they still have the refugees. So I mean, some of these refugee situations last forever. And I know in Taiwan, if you go back to '49 when the Chinese came over to Taiwan, I guess they're still under the impacts of that too. So some of these decisions last forever. Yeah. Or at least a lifetime of a person. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Renee.
It's a pleasure being with you all. I appreciate the time to learn from you students about your situations, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you for organizing, Mr. Cunningham. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey.